So the BBC has apologized for not censoring the N-word from its BAFTA Film Awards after a guest with Tourette syndrome shouted it out while Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo were on stage. The awards ceremony is taped and on a 2-hour delay, and the decision to not censor that moment has caused widespread debate on social media, with Tourette's advocates pointing out that Tourette's is characterized by sudden involuntary movements or sounds known as tics. But there's also a lot of other discussion around this. So what's your reaction to the BBC leaving this in the broadcast?
But it is an accident, though.
It's not.
They didn't deliberately leave it in. It was
they did deliberately leave it in.
No, apparently they didn't deliberately leave it in.
Oh.
Okay, well, the
latest that I looked up, I just looked up online because you mentioned this might be coming out. So I had a look and it said it was an accident that it went out.
Okay.
Now, it could be, if it's deliberate, then there's a different answer to if it's an accident. If it's an accident, it's an accident. It's wrong. Tourette's, we know it's a terrible condition and we know this thing happens. Leaving it in or leaving it out. If it was deliberate, leaving it in, then they were.
Then I have the question to ask, because the latest that we have found was that it was left in deliberately, but something was also deliberately taken out.
Yeah, which was
so there was somebody else who was, who won an award, and in their acceptance speech had said things to the effect of "Free Palestine." So that was not in the broadcast version that aired. That was edited out. So if the other word was left in on purpose or by accident, how do you explain that?
Well, I think you'd have to ask the BBC on that. I am a United Kingdom citizen.
Yes.
Very proud of it.
And BBC
but I am not
your...
the BBC. So I think, because I almost feel like I say, why did you do it? Susie had ears on it, it's your fault.
Yes.
And it's not, because I wasn't there. But, obviously, if it's a mistake, you don't want mistakes to happen. And if it's deliberate, then you need to ask what the policy was on
If it was a mistake, I still am sort of infuriated on behalf of Delroy Lindo and Michael B. Jordan, because Delroy told Variety just yesterday that no one from the BBC or the BAFTAs had contacted them afterwards to sort of apologize. And I do think an apology was owed to them, personally.
Absolutely. Okay, I'm going to try and talk about this without getting annoyed and emotional. I think they left it in on purpose because they thought it was going to be some kind of this editorial decision, because it was going to be a teaching moment about Tourette's. We're going to leave this in because it's a real moment. What they didn't realize is there was no information or education. What ended up happening is humiliation for two actors who were just walking out on stage to do a presentation for nominees for an award, and leaving it in there and having them facing the camera, not the person who said it, so they have to manage their reaction. That is the part they don't understand, because now it's going to turn into a meme. Now it's going to be reposted millions of times. Everybody's talking about it, and they have to live in that. And the fact that they didn't acknowledge, apologize, we understand the Tourette's. We understand what it is, but you still have to acknowledge what happened and how embarrassing it was for these two men. And then for Alan Cummings, who was the host of the evening, to come out and kind of give an apology saying there was strong language used. It's like, no, using the F word is strong language. Calling someone the N word is something very different. So they failed on so many levels, and I feel the worst for these two men, because as a Black person, we move through this world differently than other people, and these moments, people never understand how deep that hurt goes when that word is said, especially when you're not expecting it. When you're on stage, you have to show face, you have to be friendly, and then it is said and no one acknowledges it. And frankly, I feel like there's too much conversation about feeling bad for the person who said it, and nobody is really thinking about the two people who had to receive it on stage in front of millions of people.
Their discomfort.
Agreed.
So,
I think the big challenge here is that, to me, if this is all intentional, by the way, the BBC has apologized. They have apologized, a little too late, perhaps. I just think that if you're going to edit out the words "Free Palestine" and then leave in the N-word, which is arguably the worst racial slur that exists in the English language, then what you're actually saying is taking a political stance is more dangerous to the public than a racial slur. And they are a public broadcaster. We have one here in this country. And they actually have different rules to follow because they're a public broadcaster. And that is to protect your audiences from harmful content. And if you don't think that the N-word is harmful content,
we're in dangerous
but Free
territory.
Palestine is, you've got to take a look at the BBC and ask yourself, are they putting politics ahead of racial harm? This is a very serious problem.